to take a moment to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of our phenomenal staff for their unwavering dedication and commitment to student success. As we approach the holiday season, I encourage each and every one of you to take time to rest, rejuvenate, and spend time with loved ones. Wishing you all a peaceful and relaxing holiday season. Thank you for your incredible efforts and dedication. Happy holidays to each and every one of you. And secondly, prior to beginning, I'd like to take a moment to go through the mechanisms that allow for public participation at the board's meetings pursuant to policy 2.6, which is available online on our website. Specifically, in order to make a presentation at the board meeting, section 4 of policy 2.6 provides that requests to present must be made no later than 10 days prior to the date of the meeting. Further, our board publishes letters from our public in an agenda, provides responses from the appropriate district person, for example, the board chair or district staff, and publishes the responses on our website. Finally, the last page of the agenda outlines how questions can be put forward at the meeting. I'll now call us to order. It's with great respect and humility that we acknowledge and honor the lands of the Snuneymuxw people. The Snuneymuxw people maintain their profound, unique, and spiritual connection to the land through ageless traditions, teachings, stewardship, and expressions of reciprocity. Moving on in our agenda to item 2, transfer of items to open. I'd just like to acknowledge that Tanya Sutton is joining us tonight as acting secretary treasurer. The board passed a motion in our previous meeting this evening, appointing her as acting secretary treasurer for tonight's meeting. And, I hope that our regular secretary treasurer enjoys this evening as he celebrates his 20th anniversary. So hope Mark has a great evening. Moving on to additions, deletions, and changes in order. Are there any? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Naomi and Tom, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, approval of the minutes. There's a recommended motion that reads as follows. That the minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting held on November 22nd, 2023, and the annual general meeting held on December 6, 2023 be adopted. Do we have a mover? Tanya, seconded by Chantel. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to the section 72.3 report. That the section 72.3 report from the closed Board of Education meeting on November 22nd, 2023 be received. Do we have a mover? Tanya and Chantel again. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to announcements and reminders. We have a few this evening. Our Education Committee meeting is scheduled for January 10th, 2024. Our Business Committee meeting on January 17th, 2024. Our next Board of Education meeting, the first of the year, is January 31st, 2024. And schools reopen after winter break on January 8th, 2024. Moving on to item 10 in our agenda, presentations. We have a presentation this evening from the Nanaimo Area Public Safety Association, and I'll ask Colin to please come up. Thank you. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Colin Middleton. I'm the president and founder of the Nanaimo Area Public Safety Association. I'm joined by one of the directors and treasurer, Chrissy Forsyth. I just wanted to introduce myself in this new organization as hopefully a resource for the board as far as potential educational resources or insights as to what's happening in Nanaimo with respect to public safety issues as we carry on our advocacy work. So we established in just over a year ago. We're registered as a society under the BC Societies Act as of February of this year. We have 4 board directors, 20 members that pay dues, and social media contacts and following that is about 500 and growing at this point. Our mandate is advocating for the rights of citizens to peace, safety, and security in their homes, public spaces, and businesses in Nanaimo. So I'm a father. I have 2 young boys in the public school system here in Nanaimo. Christy has lived in Nanaimo her whole life, and also has kids that have gone through the public school system. The reason why I wanted to have the opportunity to present to you tonight was to share some insights as to what we're observing in terms of the access that students today have to illicit drugs, as well as counterfeit pharmaceuticals, as well as pharmaceutical drugs that are diverted from the safer supply programs. So, but why we exist really, we came to being due to escalating violence and crime in Nanaimo. The citizens bearing witness to an escalation in open air drug use, fires, arson, vandalism, theft, and random violence. Many people tell us they're fed up feeling like prisoners in their own neighborhoods, and citizens are being traumatized as they are witnessing drug crimes, violence amongst street entrenched, overdoses and overdose deaths on the regular in many parts of Nanaimo, and it's certainly concentrated in downtown and the South End and a few other areas. What we want, this is kind of a laundry list of sort of what we're hoping to achieve, but ultimately, first and foremost, we want Nanaimo to be a safe city for young people, elderly, families, working people with diverse cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds. We are seeking accountability for all 3 levels of government, municipal, provincial, and federal, irrespective of party, political party, to treat the overdose crisis like the public health and safety emergency that it is. We are calling on governments to recognize the intrinsically linked and overlapping social crises that are producing the current public health and safety emergency, and act in a coordinated, cooperative fashion across party lines. And that touches on issues of addictions and mental health, housing and affordability, and justice system and law enforcement. We seek accountability and transparency in the nonprofit industry, where public money is, where a lot of public money is sent from the province to execute programs and responsibilities that perhaps traditionally have been delivered directly by those ministries, and for our elected officials to display visible action-oriented leadership in getting Nanaimo what it needs to improve public safety in the city. So our work, we have a network of eyes and ears throughout the city that look out for what's happening and share information, share insights, talk to council, mayor and council on the regular, help to provide insights to mayor and council and city staff as to what we are observing as people that live in the neighborhoods where the many social services are delivered, and if and when there are troubling incidents that occur, we often have, if we don't have information, we know people who do, and we'll share that information readily with the RCMP. Calling for safety. This year, there's been a lot of activity and public discussion around encampments, particularly this one on the Millstone Creek. And neighbors in the Newcastle Community Association have been very vocal about the safety issues that people that live there are experiencing, and the Nanaimo Area Public Safety Association was there supporting them and doing press releases and supporting rallies and press briefings. We are monitoring the overdose crisis in Nanaimo. We have been able to obtain some information from the Nanaimo Fire Department in terms of timestamp locations of where and when overdoses are occurring that are high acuity, and we've done some work to provide some visualizations to show the spatiotemporal dimension of the overdose crisis over the last 2 years. This visualization, I'm not sure if it'll work if I click on it, but yeah, it's on our YouTube, and I can share the link if people are interested to see it. It shows the unfolding of this crisis in the city in a way that hasn't been shown before by Island Health or the provincial jurisdictions that are looking at this, because it provides a level of detail that isn't captured in the public releases of these summarized data. What we're finding is that in the public discourse, there's so much, because the scale of the information that's presented to the public, there's so much ambiguity in the interpretation that it's very difficult to move forward and have discussions about what is working and what isn't. So one of the things that we're trying to do is provide as high level detail as we can. I am a biologist by training, so I'm not a medical professional, but I do have a background in geographic information systems, GIS, and biostatistical data and data analysis. So this has been something that I've been happy to contribute on as we dive into this. The main reason why I am here is because we are hearing, and not just anecdotally, but from students themselves, about how readily available prescription opioids have become in schools in Nanaimo, particularly Barsby and Wellington, and to a lesser extent NDSS. The concern is that not only do we have the diversion of safer supply happening from pharmacies in Nanaimo then the drugs find their way into the hands of students, but we also now have gangs, drug dealers, organized crime networks that are creating counterfeit pills that have fentanyl in them, and are marketing those to youth as safer supply, and they even have the prescription bottles and even some have labels that look quite authentic.
So just let you know you have about a minute.
Yep.
Thank you.
Almost done. So as I said, looking to hold all levels of government accountable for this. We need a coordinated response, and we need everybody working together in order to address this in a way that is going to change the direction of this, because as we know, our collective efforts, both in the public and in the government organizations over the last 7 years have not been working. So we see our role here is as another perspective. We don't have any public money. We don't have any funding from provincial, federal, municipal levels of government. We have a few small donors, and we do some fundraising events, but we are propelled primarily by volunteerism and of considerable concern for the youth and the future of Nanaimo. So thank you for that.
Great. Thank you for your presentation this evening. Trustees, are there any questions? I don't see any, so I thank you for your coming to present this evening. Appreciate your time. Okay. You're welcome to stay if you like, and we'll move on in our agenda. Okay, trustees, thank you. So we'll move on to item 11.1, correspondence from C&M Atherton. There's a suggested motion that the Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, refer the correspondence from C&M Atherton to staff for a response. Someone willing to move that? Tanya? Seconded by Naomi. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question and all in favor? Carried. Thank you. So moving on to committee reports, starting with item 12.1, the Business Committee. There's a number of motions here, and we're going to move to our Vice Chair, Mark, to start us off with the first one.
Thank you, Chair. We have several motions, so we'll go at them. The first one is that the Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, approve the school district statement of financial information SOFI report as presented for the year ending June 30th, 2023.
Thank you, Mark. Do we have a seconder? Tanya, would you like to motivate the motion, Mark?
It's a statutory obligation that we need to do this, so don't think there's much to motivate.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Greg. That the Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, supports staff pursuing a prefabricated modular expansion option to alleviate overcapacity at NDSS that may include additional capacity at NDSS or additional capacity at Wellington, and to report back to the board for final approval and direction on appropriate consultation as required.
Mark, do you have a seconder? Naomi? Mark, would you like to motivate?
I think this is a good move for staff. We've been hitting this for some time now. NDSS needs to be addressed for the overcapacity. I like the fact that this could help Wellington as well. So it's something that we've worked hard on, and thanks staff for putting this together.
Thank you, Mark. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Mark.
That the Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, adopt the revised policy 2.22 public interest disclosure.
Okay, Mark. Seconder for that motion. Tanya? Want to motivate, Mark?
No, I think we hashed this out during the business committee. So if anyone has anything to say, then go ahead. Otherwise, that's about it.
Any discussion? Thank you. Tanya?
Just so it's on the record for anybody who might have missed the business committee meeting, if my recollection is correct, we're not sending this back out to consultation because this was just changes that were required by the ministry that we don't have a say in anyway, correct?
That's my general understanding.
I just couldn't remember, but I thought that was what it was.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll call the question on the motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
That the Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, approve the addition of policy 2.15, trustee criminal record check, to its work plan with the intention of adding trustee orientation to the purpose of the policy.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Chantel? You like to motivate, Mark?
So just so the public knows, we already do trustee criminal record checks. This is the intention of this is to enhance new trustees when they're onboarding. I think some of the newer trustees, myself included, had a bit of struggles in the beginning in terms of technology, policy. So this is right on point. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
The Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, approve the addition of a general policy review to its work plan with the intention of rationalizing and aligning the board's policy manual.
Do we have a seconder? Tanya? Mark?
I think I'll not motivate this, and I'll allow anyone from the policy committee to, if they have anything to say on this, to anything.
Tom, or would you like to say something? Would you like me to Chantel? Like,
Yeah, I'll just contribute that. Sorry. Yeah, when Mark references the orientation and the learning experience, I'd recommend a trip to policy committee anytime if you're looking for orientation. It's been a wonderful experience to learn from the people on the committee, and I think this policy review that we're undertaking is well overdue. It's going to allow our systems to be more accessible to staff and to the public. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else? Maybe I'll just add quickly, the purpose of this as well is to try and streamline our policy book and ensure that each policy has, one, that we reduce the number of policies so it's easier for the public and for staff and for the trustees to use, and then also making sure that our policies are aligned with administrative procedures and that we don't have any areas that are overlapping or inconsistent or unclear.
Thank you for saying that. Chair, I'm going to admit to something. When I first started as a trustee millions of years ago, no, it feels like it some days, I used to be, we don't have enough policies. I honestly, I thought we didn't have enough, that we weren't, but as I did have a swing on the policy committee, and it's just good that we finally have one again. The majority of our work doesn't need millions of policies. We can cover things, a lot of different things in one policy, for example. Like we have multiple APs that can refer back to a policy rather than separate policies for every AP, I realized. So I think this is really good work. I think it will actually help a lot of ways for parents and staff, and particularly the community, the public and parents to understand our work and what exactly it is that we have authority over and what that looks like. So I'm really glad to see this work happening.
Thank you, Tanya. Anybody else? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. One more, Mark.
Thanks, Greg. That the Board of Education of School District Number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, approve a reduction in the accumulated operating surplus to local capital transfer done September 2023 in the amount of $700,000, and that the funds then be restricted pursuant to policy 2.16 accumulated operating surplus reserve under the reserve category of operations spanning multiple years in order to account for the John Barsby turf field contribution over the 10-year contractual term.
Thank you, Mark. Seconded by Tom. Any discussion? Or sorry, Mark, would you like to motivate the motion?
I would love to hear Trustee Rokeby motivate this.
Thank you, Trustee Robinson. I stand in awe at the amazing work that our senior staff does to keep these interagency partnerships alive and well, and improving facilities in our town, not just for our students, but for the entire community. If there was one frustration that I had before becoming an elected official, was this perception that they kind of all been siloed. But, you know, when we see projects like this happening in the South End, it just speaks to the kind of quality staff that we have making these relationships. I get really excited driving by, Howard and 7th and seeing the progress. It's been faster than I thought. And this is going to be a really good investment in South End kids, not just our kids, but everybody in that community. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Tanya?
Very excited about this. Through you, Chair, ask Ms. Sutton, just because, again, I know that some people forget to watch the committee meetings and forget that that's where we have a lot of our discussion. If you could just remind us, I recall Mark had said this money is actually sort of already been, like, this is not a new thing. We're just changing the way it's being presented. Can you you know what I'm asking you?
Good evening. Correct. Through the board, this money has been paid to the city, and it's strictly an accounting scenario for us now to expend that over the course of the life of the term of the field. So it's just an accounting entry, but the funds have been transferred to the city, and the city is going forward with the project. So
okay,
very positive.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Anybody else like to speak to the motion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Mark, for sharing, reading all those motions. Good job. So we'll move on to your Education Committee report. Chantel.
Okay, so the Education Committee, so that the Board of Education of School District Number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, accept the report of the Ad Hoc Student Voice Committee, and further that the Board of Education receive the draft revised policy 2.5, Board Committee's representation and annual work, and circulate as a notice of motion for 30 days, utilizing the consultation process as per Board Governance, Section 1, 2.7, Policy Development.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Naomi, would you like to motivate the motion?
I'm super excited that this is going forward, and I'm really excited to hear from the public about this as well. So I can't wait to hear what we hear in 30 days and come back to the table and hear what everyone's had to say. And hopefully that helps identify any issues that we might have with the policy or anything like that. And
I'm just going to pause us for a minute because our secretary just left the room.
Right. Okay.
Make sure we get the minutes accurate.
I don't remember what I did.
Maybe what we'll do is we'll just take a quick 5-minute recess.
Okay.
Oh. I'll scratch that. Can I rescind that? Okay. So thank you for moving the motion, or sorry, motivating the motion. Is there any discussion, Naomi? Oh, sorry, Naomi. Tanya was on my list. I forgot that I had a list. I'll add you next after Tanya.
I just wanted to thank staff for their work in leading and supporting us in the student voice meetings so far. And it's been a really good process. We're looking forward to continuing the work. I think the students are really excited. I think the most important thing I would ask of staff is in remembering that when we do this consultation process, that it's important that we actually get it out to students to look at the policy, or particularly our older students who can maybe if we could maybe, like, for example, send it out to the leadership classes so they could look at it and have discussions about it and see if there's something we're missing. Because how do I say this? I'm just going to say it bluntly. A bunch of adults looking at the policy and saying, oh yeah, this looks good, sort of feels contradictory to the whole purpose and the whole philosophy behind what we're doing here with this work. We need to know that it makes sense to students. I know that our students who are currently on the committee, there were some other things we wanted to put in, and they said, please don't, let's wait till we get a wider committee and more student participation before we make certain decisions. So yeah, it's important that we hear from students as well as everybody else.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Naomi, but you're up next.
Yeah, the student voice, I want to just thank the committee for all the hard work they've done. As a former teacher, I've always felt it's really important that our students are heard. They are basically, they know what's going on in the schools, and they have really good ideas, and so I'm very glad to see this moving in this direction. In the 2018 elections for trustees, there was a young man who ran as a trustee. He was 21 years old. His name was Hunter Erisman. And I was fortunate enough to know him when he was quite young. And even at 10 years of age, he was very much interested in history and politics. So at 21, I went to hear him speak at one of the trustee debates, and I was so proud of him. And part of his platform was he wanted to have student voice at the board level. So that piece, as well as the piece that I feel, having been a social studies history teacher for 25 years, I think it's really important that students have an opportunity to be part of governance, to learn it, because democracy is pretty fragile right now in this world, and we need our students to understand how we govern this country, province and city and schools. So I know wherever Hunter is, he's probably really delighted that this is being pushed to this place, and hopefully we'll get more information down the road. So thank you.
Thanks, Naomi. Mark?
Greg, I wasn't going to speak, but I think we'd be remiss in acknowledging something, and I know she's going to get mad at me, but the chair of this committee, every time she has an opportunity to speak on the committee, she says, nope. She says, I'm not going to speak. I want to hear more for the kids. So kudos to Tanya for doing that. I think that's very valuable. And I think it's something to look up to going forward as this goes through the process. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah.
Hi, I just would like to add and maybe ask. Sometimes a lot of these things we're able to administer at the school level, but it would be a little remiss to not speak to the fact that some of our schools have cell phone bans. So trying to make sure that students actually have access to a device of some sort in some class to be able to do this, not doing it on their own time if they don't, feel comfortable doing that. I hope that that is an opportunity that can be had, because not being able to use your cell phone to do it shouldn't be a barrier to having a voice. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? See any hands? Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to, we have no senior staff reports this evening. So moving on to unfinished business. Tanya with the transportation policy.
Good evening, through the chair. Secretary Treasurer Mark Walsh has written a fairly self-explanatory our action sheet here, and just basically for the board to say that generally speaking, when policies go out for public consultation, we don't receive a great deal of feedback. In this case, we received substantial enough feedback that the recommendation is that the feedback go back to the policy committee for consultation, discussion, possible revisions, and then come back to the business committee meeting. So I feel it's fairly self-explanatory, but happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Are there any questions of staff? Anybody like to move the motion? I think I saw Mark first.
Thank you, Greg. That the Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, send the feedback from the consultation on the transportation policy to the policy committee, and that the policy committee make recommended changes, if applicable, for return to the business committee upon completion.
Thank you, Mark. Seconder Chantel, would you like to motivate the motion?
I would not, because
Okay.
Tanya expressed everything very eloquently on behalf of Mark.
Okay, anybody else like to speak? It's two hands. I saw Chantel and then Tanya.
Okay. Hi, thank you. I'd like to speak in favor of this motion. Obviously, looking at all the feedback, it's obvious that even though we spent a lot of time on the wording and the language and stuff like that, there's some things that we missed, and I'm happy that we set it out for consultation and that we received that feedback, because that tells us, okay, there's some things that we need to tweak here. People are not understanding it before it becomes official, and I really appreciate this process for that reason. And being on the policy committee, I'm happy to come back to it and take another look at it, because obviously it's impacted a lot of people, and a lot of people have brought us some great feedback, and I'm really looking forward to digging into that again. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, Tanya?
Through you to Miss Sutton, just a question about, in terms of the timeline and in terms of when we, in terms of potential changes that might be coming for bus routes, and because we always get a bus route report every year, should we be concerned that that we need to get this done particularly quickly, this policy, in terms of how it will impact things for next year and the process moving into next year?
I think this would be a great question to bring back to the business committee in January when the revisions brought forward, or at least if the committee brings back some information for the board to discuss. I think it would be a good question at that time.
Okay,
I wouldn't want to add information prematurely.
fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments? Seeing none, then I will call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on, there is no new business this evening. We have under item 16 for information, the board motions report, trustee committee reports, and trustee zone assignments. Is there any comments or questions on any of those items? Chantal?
I like the fact that usually every year we change our family of schools, and this year we decided to keep our family of schools. And I'm really happy that we got to. It's been really a great pleasure going to these schools and stuff like that. And we didn't really get to do as much as we would like, especially in our first year as trustees. So now that we're kind of moving more into swing of things, we now get to like get in there deeper and get more of a relationship with our family of schools. And I'm super excited about it. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Tanya.
And just quickly, can I just say again, as the person who's been around since 2014, how much I've loved working with all of you, my colleagues here, in terms of your openness to saying, hey, there's an event at my school, and one of the things that makes it easier to stay in one zone is that I don't feel like I can't go to a school if it's not in my zone, and I think that's awesome. And I encourage staff to let schools know that if there's events happening at schools and like entrepreneur fairs, and I'm the kind of person who will come and help at a fun fair. I don't care if it's my zone, for example, or if the kids are doing performances, or I just read at McGurr last Friday as a sub for somebody. So I guess I would encourage staff to let the schools know that we, as a rule, enjoy knowing about stuff. Even if we can't make it, we like to know, and we like to have the option to come and see what's happening when the kids are doing stuff. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Tanya. And I think that's a great thing that all of us do here on our board, is to sort of work together and provide everyone with opportunities to access all of our schools. And I think I'm hoping that's something that we can keep doing. Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I want to agree with Trustee Morve and suggest that I was thinking about this, the tradition of changing every year, and that's a great way for trustees to get out and learn about the district and to see other schools. But then I started to think, we're a board and we should really be serving our students and our community. And the biggest priority is that we as a board deliver good service to our schools. And I think that by staying in schools that we're close to, where people recognize us, where we start to become a relationship with the administrators, I'm not sure that happens easily in a year. So I'm actually very much in favor of this. And I think it's going to allow better access to us because people will be familiar with us in those spaces. So all in favor.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else? Okay, so we'll move on. Karen, are there any questions this evening? No questions, okay. This brings me to the last item on our agenda, which is a bit sad. No, just hold on a sec. Yeah, I'm hearing you. Just about went right over my head there for a moment. But tonight is a bittersweet moment as we gather to bid farewell to a remarkable leader, our Executive Director of Communications, Dale Burgos. After an incredible 9 years of dedicated service, Dale has decided to embark on a new journey, accepting a communications position at the City of Nanaimo. During his tenure here, Dale has guided us through both challenging and joyous times. From navigating the aftermath of the tragic terrorist attack in Nice to steering us through the complexities of the ongoing global pandemic, Dale has been a source of unwavering support and leadership. Dale's impact on our organization extends far beyond the crises we face together. He's played a pivotal role in fostering positive relationships with the Board of Education, attending board and committee meetings. He has demonstrated outstanding dedication to community engagement, hosting numerous events that have strengthened our connection to the core of our community. Notably, Dale has been the creative force behind several award-winning projects, showcasing his talent and dedication. The Singing Superintendent video and Reconciliation video series are just a couple of examples of his innovative and impactful contributions. These projects not only garnered recognition, but also reflected Dale's commitment to advancing our mission and values. As Dale transitions to the city of Nanaimo, we extend our heartfelt gratitude for his efforts, visionary leadership, and a genuine passion for the work we do. Although we'll miss him, we're confident that in his new role will be yet another platform for him to shine and to make a positive impact on the broader community. Dale, your legacy here is profound, and your departure leaves a void that will not easily be filled. As you embark on this new chapter, know that you will take with you the respect, admiration, and warm wishes of all those you have worked with and inspired. May your journey ahead be as rewarding and fulfilling as your time with us has been. And to honor you, Dale, we have a small token of our appreciation. We don't expect a speech or anything, Dale. Thank you. I've said that. Okay. So the last item on the agenda is the motion to adjourn. Tanya and Tom, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.